Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to talk about the resupply strategy for hiking the Te Araroa. Earlier this year I spent 2 months hiking the length of New Zealand's South Island following this trail, and this video will cover how and where you can resupply along the route. It's only going to focus on the South Island as this is where the more thorough planning is needed, including posting food ahead to yourself in several remote locations. I've previously done a video about the full cost breakdown of hiking the trail, which is here if you're interested. Right, let's get stuck into it. Firstly, if you've not done a long distance hike before, you may not be familiar with what the term resupply box is. Essentially, it's a parcel that you post ahead to yourself on the trail, loaded with food, and this is only used in areas where there are no grocery shops to resupply. I hiked the route from south to north, but I understand most people do it in the opposite way. Therefore, this video will discuss it from the point of view of someone walking north to south along the South Island. On the South Island, you'll be starting at Ship Cove, which you'll have to get the water taxi from Picton. Picton's a fairly decent sized town, and there's a couple of supermarkets there to choose from. The biggest one from memory I think is Fresh Choice, and you'll need enough food there to last till Havelock, which is about 3 or 4 days away. Once you're in Havelock, which is a town famous for its green-shelled mussels, there's only one supermarket, which is a Foursquare. These tend to be smaller grocery shops and a little bit more expensive, but it's big enough to stock up on all the usual hiker food that needs to last you through the Richmond ranges. Your pack will be quite heavy in this section, as you'll need enough food to last the full Richmond ranges, which can take around 7 to 9 days. If you survive the Richmonds, the next village you get to is a tiny place called St Arnaud. Now, there is a small general store there where you can get a few hiker type food. However, personally I wouldn't rely on it being stocked up, and also it'll be a lot more expensive. So what the majority of TA hikers do is send a resupply box here to the Alpine Lodge. As of 2024, they charge 15 New Zealand dollars for a standard size box. On the box, you'll need to write your full name, mention that you're a TA walker, add an approximate date of arrival, as this helps them organise the boxes, and also their address. I'll post a link in the description with their address and their website so you can read a bit more about that. Obviously, this resupply box will need to be organised prior to departing on the trail. This can be sent from any New Zealand post office. There's one in Picton, or if you're walking south to north like I did, I sorted these resupply boxes at Queenstown partway into the trail. This had the added benefit of I knew what New Zealand snacks and food suited me, rather than having to guess and buy a load of stuff beforehand and before setting off on the trail. You'll need around 5-6 days of worth of food to last you through the Nelson Lake National Park here. It is worth mentioning there is one other option if you wanted to avoid the postage fees. If you had the time, you could hitchhike into Blenheim, but it's about 100k away. Instantly, I had to hitchhike into Blenheim to get some new trail shoes as mine were completely knackered. It probably took about 2 hours each way. Next after this, you'll get to Boyle Village, which despite its name isn't really a village. There's an outdoor centre which provides bunk accommodation for TA walkers. Now, you can get a resupply box sent here to the Boyle River Outdoor Centre. However, personally, I'd advise you just to hitchhike to Hamner Springs and take a rest day there and resupply. It's a fairly easy hitch. It takes 2 journeys generally. The first is the majority of the way, hitchhiking east along the Highway 7. Then there's a turning off to Hamner Springs. But the second leg is super easy to hitchhike as the road leads only to Hamner Springs and there's loads of tourists heading down that way all the time. There's some great cafes and restaurants in Hamner Springs, so if you do want a rest day, it's perfect. There's one main supermarket, which is a standard size Foursquare, very easy to resupply there, and you'll need about 5 or 6 days worth of food. The next leg brings you over Goat Pass and down into Arthur's Pass village. It's a popular spot for tourists and a chance to see Keas, the alpine parrot, up close. The majority of people here send a resupply box ahead. There's a small store here called Arthur's Pass Store, but it is really only good for supplementing your supply box, so I wouldn't want to rely on it. I posted mine here to the Mountain House accommodation. Again, I'll post a link in the description. It's best to ring up ahead just to check that they're still accepting parcels. From memory, it was about $10, and you'll need to carry 3 days worth of food. The next section includes 2 braided river systems that most people do not cross. Firstly, there's the Rakaia River, which you should definitely not cross. Here you could either try hitching or get a shuttle. I managed to hitch here, and in between stayed at the town of Methven for the night. There's a Foursquare and also a Super Value here. From here to the next braided river system, which is the Rangitata, takes about 3 days. Some people do choose to cross the Rangitata, but personally I wouldn't recommend it. You just don't know what's happening upstream far ahead in the valley, and the water levels rise pretty rapidly. The shuttle here takes you through the town of Geraldine, where you can resupply at the fresh choice. You'll need about 3 days worth of food for this next section. You'll then get into the town of Tekapo. Again, there's a Foursquare here in this town, and I remember it being a pretty big one, so it's great for resupplying. And also, Tekapo's a great place for having a rest day, lounging by the glacial lake and indulging in the food. From Tekapo, the route leads to Twizel over 2 days, so your pack will be nice and light. Twizel, bizarrely, has 2 Foursquares, presumably different franchises, so take your pick here. You'll need about 6 days worth of food to get to the next town, Wanaka, where there's several supermarkets. I believe the New World is the biggest. It's a proper sized supermarket, so you'll be able to get everything you need. And you'll need 4 or 5 days worth of food to last through to Arrowtown or Queenstown. Arrowtown is just 1 day before Queenstown and has a small grocery store where you'll easily be able to stock up for 1 day's worth of food. But to be honest, it's probably easier just buying everything you need in Wanaka to last till Queenstown, and also slightly cheaper. Then, in Queenstown, you've got a wide variety. In the centre itself, it's a more expensive Foursquare, but as you're walking into Queenstown before you actually reach the centre, there's a place called Frankton, just close to the airport, and you'll literally pass some of the big supermarkets there. There's a Pack and Save, and I believe there's a Countdown. So it definitely makes sense to resupply here, as you'll be able to get everything a lot cheaper and a wide variety of stuff. For the next section, you'll need about 4 or 5 days worth of food. On this next section, you'll hike past the Mavora Lakes and come onto State Highway 94. From here, most people choose to hitchhike into Te Araroa, which is a 20-minute drive. There is also a shuttle if you weren't comfortable with hitching, but it's one straight road, so you should be able to get a hitch fairly easily. And in Te Araroa, it's very easy to resupply. There's a Foursquare and also a Fresh Choice to stock up in. Then it's about 7 days before you get into Riverton, which has a Fresh Choice to stock up in. Then it's 1 day to get into Invercargill, which is a massive town and has several large supermarkets, including a Pack and Save and a Countdown. Then from Invercargill, it's simply 1 day's walk to get to Bluff, and then congratulations, you've just walked the South Island of New Zealand. To briefly recap, if you follow my resupply strategy, you only need to send 2 resupply boxes ahead to yourself. That's St. Arnaud and Arthur's Pass. Some people do choose to send more to some of the locations which I mentioned, but personally for me, I wanted to keep my admin as low as possible. A tip for sending these parcels is that the supermarket Pack and Save has loads of spare cardboard boxes at the front of most of their stores, so just pick a couple up there and you can save yourself the money of having to buy a new cardboard box at a post office. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, as I'd be happy to advise, or let me know if you'd be interested in hearing any other topics related to Te Araroa preparation. If you found this useful for your Te Araroa preparations, then please like and subscribe. It's a very small channel here, so you'll really be helping out by subscribing.